Well, we're going to look at Revelations 12 today, and we're going to look at it from the New American Bible translation on the website of the United States Conference for Catholic Bishops, because Revelation 12 is probably the one chapter of Revelation that Catholics know best, because it refers to Mary. A great sign appeared in the sky, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was with child and wailed aloud in pain as she labored to give birth. Then another sign appeared in the sky. It was a huge red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on its heads were 7 diadems. Its tail swept away a third of the stars in the sky and hurled them down to the earth. Then the dragon stood before the woman about to give birth to devour her child when she gave birth. A dragon, a sea serpent, and a snake. We see this symbolism throughout this chapter. It all refers to Satan or to the forces of darkness. Now, I've in other classes talked about the Ouroboros, the symbol of a snake eating its own tail. The idea, even with a dragon, and if you think about The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien really plays on this. Dragons are possessive. They don't give anything up. The dragon here is like Herod. Mary is about to give birth to a male child destined to rule the nations with an iron rod, and the devil, the dragon, wants to devour the baby as soon as it comes out of Mary's womb. He doesn't want the baby even to have a chance to breathe. The dragon is like Herod, killing the innocents. That's a dragon-like, that's the dragon sickness. Consuming for yourself and not allowing anything to live beyond you. Well, in this case, she gave birth to a son, a male child, destined to rule all the nations with an iron rod. If you click on the little footnote there, it says rule with an iron rod, fulfilled in Revelations 19:15, which we'll read later. Compare Psalm 2:9. You could click there and go right to Psalm 2. God says to his, apparently to his anointed or to his favorite or to his son, he says, ask it of me and I will give you the nations as your inheritance, and as your possession the ends of the earth. With an iron rod you will shepherd them. Like a potter's vessel you will shatter them. In other words, God's son is given dominion, both as a shepherd, but also dominion with an iron rod. In other words, he can heal and he can destroy. Well, eventually we hear about the great war in heaven between Michael and the bad angels, and how the dragon is swept down. Then I heard a loud voice in heaven say, now have salvation and power come in the kingdom of our God, and the authority of the anointed, for the accuser of our brothers is cast out, who accuses them before our God day and night. The accuser is Satan, because the word in Hebrew for accuser was Satan. And although this is written in Greek, certainly St. John would have known his Hebrew because, well, he was a Jew. So he refers to Satan as the great accuser. They conquered him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Love for life did not deter them from death. In other words, the martyrs are the ones willing to become a martyr. Therefore, you heavens, rejoice, you heavens, and you who dwell in them. But woe to you, earth and sea, for the devil has come down to you in great fury, for he knows he has but a short time. Now, we are told here that when the dragon saw that it had been thrown down to the earth, it pursued the woman who had given birth to the male child. The devil hates Mary. In other words, he hates innocence, virginity, sweetness, purity, simplicity, love, self-sacrifice, all the things that Our Lady is. He pursues her here, even now, even to this day. He pursues those aspects of her that we embody. But the woman was given the 2 wings of the great eagle, so that she could fly to her place in the desert where, far from the serpent, she was taken care of for a year, 2 years, and a half year. That's apparently 2.5 years, although I think there are ways of interpreting that where it's 3.5 years. Earlier, we hear that she is taken care of for 1,260 days, which refers back to the 42 months, 3.5 year period, half of the number of creation. But this, a year, 2 years and a half year, refers to a passage in Daniel. Nevertheless, the serpent is angry and tries to kill the woman with a flood. This is kind of the flood that destroyed the world that God produced. But this is not a flood intended to destroy the evil of the world, which is what God did in the days of Noah. This is a flood intended to destroy virtue, innocence, and the woman, the lady. But the earth helped the woman and opened its mouth and swallowed the flood that the dragon spewed out of its mouth. Then the dragon became angry with the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commandments and bear witness to Jesus. It took its position on the sand of the sea. Two things here. Nature itself protects Mary. Somehow, even the natural world is enlisted on her side. And even though we don't think of nature as acting intentionally, that's at least the way it's described in that passage. So that Satan is rebelling against nature as much as he is not only against Mary, but the rest of her offspring. Well, wait a minute. Mary only had one baby, Jesus. Right. But when Christ is dying on the cross, he says to St. John, the same St. John who saw these visions, "Woman, behold your son." And he says to John, "Behold your mother." She becomes our mother. And if we are followers of Jesus, we become brothers of Jesus, adopted brothers of Jesus, and therefore children of Mary, and therefore hated by the devil. But even nature itself can be on our side. Now, of course, literally, I don't know. You might still have to deal with snowstorms and things like that. You might have to wear your stocking hat inside the house. But what we see here is a pretty vivid picture, probably the most vivid picture of Satan in the whole Bible. He appears in the book of Job, but he doesn't appear with the fullness of his personality in the book of Job. Here we really see Satan being Satan. And here we see also the most profound representation of Mary as the mother of God and as the mother of the renewed humanity of the followers of Christ anywhere in Scripture. Well, there you go. To me, at least, as strange as Revelations gets, that chapter actually makes a lot of sense.